Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to get to meet everyone tonight. I'm just not sure, is it my screen or do people have their cameras on? So I can't see anyone. Oh, no, now I can. On the side, I can see who's here. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, now I get to see all your beautiful faces. That's so much more fun. Okay, now it's more like, it's nighttime in Israel. It's more like a slumber party now. Thank you, much better. Awesome. So pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you so much for having me. I was so looking forward to this for so long. So I would be remiss to not begin by just speaking about the fact that this year is a Hakel year, which means every 7 years we have this mitzvah, the year after Shemitah, to really gather. The mitzvah is to gather as the Jewish people. Traditionally, we would gather by the Holy Temple and have this giving of the Torah, really spiritual high experience. And the Rebbe instituted that every year of Hakel, which, sorry, it's more like every 8th year, it's proper to say, is really just to get together as Jewish women and get in a circle or get in a Zoom. So just the fact that we're together here together, I said that twice, sorry. Just the fact that we're together is really special for me. So thank you for letting me be part of this. And that tonight is Chaf Beis Shvat. It fell out that this time that we have together is Rebbetzin Chaim Mishka of blessed memory, her yahrzeit. And it's a special day of blessing. And so if breaking can accomplish, nothing else can. So there's just be lots of blessings and incredible miracles from our time together for all of Am Yisrael. So to give you a little bit about my background, I grew up loving being Jewish and not knowing a lot about it at all. And in my teens, I started discovering more about mitzvahs, connecting to God, started exploring more of the spiritual side of myself. And by 18, I was living a religious life, an observant life. At 18, I was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and I went through cancer treatment, which led to my own experiences with psychosis and lots of other interesting things from the treatments I was on, as well as a long journey of PTSD post the medical aspect of that journey. So that's a little bit about that part. And what I would like to do today is just go to, before the questions and answers, is to really just share with you a bit of what I like to call, like, in terms of my marriage, like the battle days or just whatever, the hard days, however you want to call them. And then a transition, a shift that took place within myself that, thank God, really caused a shift within my marriage. And then more about where we are today and what's really worked for us personally. So after surviving this treatment, I came to Israel to heal my mind, my heart, my soul. I came to Tzfat, where else? Who thought I would be here all these years later? And I guess Hashem knew, I didn't know. But basically, it was really love at first sight. It was this incredible experience of this very healing experience of dating and falling in love and trusting life again and being open to life again and being married to my soulmate. It was this incredible thing that I'd prayed so much for, and here it was. So about a month after Sheva Brachas, right after, we went home and started playing house, my husband started showing extreme symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning it was there, but it had never really reared its head in this way before. Depression, panic attacks, was not functioning the way I had known him before. And it was this, if you could kind of picture it, like I was this new bride. I had just turned 21. And I really didn't know what to do with myself. And the thing is that our love was very profound. It was like an old married couple's love. Like I knew that we were going to get through this thing, but I didn't know how. I just knew that we needed to. And so the way that I approached it was that I was really quite, to be very honest with you, since we've known each other for all of 5 minutes, I approached it in a very controlling way. I took my husband's healing into my own hands, and I made sure that no one else would know at first. Meaning I would work in a seminary and put on my glossy wig and my glossy lipstick and go out and everything's normal. And then meanwhile, my husband hasn't left bed in a week, and actually it's getting worse. It's moving into self-harm. And it was such a double life. It's insane. It's hard to explain. And I took it upon myself to really help my husband heal. And so meaning I would, took him to a psychiatrist, got him the meds, made sure he took them, went from this therapist to that therapist, from talk therapy to somatic to IFS to what else, just all of it. And I really loved my husband very much. I loved Ariel very much. I still do. But I didn't trust him in any way, meaning I took it on like I was the adult here And he obviously can't really take care of himself. And so, as you can imagine, in a marriage, even though I was quote unquote being very helpful, I wasn't empowering him. I wasn't, whoever's the cute little kid, that wasn't much, that was adorable. That was so cute. But I wasn't empowering him. I wasn't believing in him in this healing journey. I was completely taking control of the situation. And so for me, that just meant I was getting very resentful of constantly going to his therapist with him and sitting outside, resentful of having to speak for him, resentful of having to bubble wrap our lives so that no one triggers him, that we only go to the Shabbos meals where, you know, no one's going to say something that's going to upset him and we're going to whatever, get into a depression for the next week, or making sure he wouldn't drink alcohol, even if it's just a sip, because that might lead to a migraine, which might trigger depression, which is going to lead to a panic attack, which is going to lead to self-harm. Like my whole world was so intense. Like I basically just induced panic attacks at that point. I was so stressful to be around. I was so hyper vigilant on his own movements. And so the transition that took place, thank God, was that I really dove into the 6 intimacy skill. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar. I'll just reference it quickly. I read this book, The Empowered Wife, which talked about these 6 intimacy skills. And the first thing it really empowered me to do was work on my own self-care. So just for some context, thank God we've been married 4.5 years. To be sure, it was that half year. I still count the months. And this was maybe like 1.5 years or so into this journey. And for me, that self-care of just focusing on myself, meaning the advice I was giving my husband all the time. Hey, why don't you go on a walk? Why don't you call a friend? Why don't you do something that makes you happy? You know, I was like, wait, when was the last time I did that? When was the last time I took any of the advice that I'm just shoving at my husband all the time? And I started taking my own advice. I started really doing the self-care. And at first, I'll be honest with you, doing self-care made me happy, but it made me lonely because, okay, so I'm going to go out with friends, have a great time. And meanwhile, my husband's stuck. You know, okay, I'm going to go work on my career and advance my own life. But meanwhile, I have no idea what's flying with Ariel. So the more I worked on my own happiness, it actually made me feel very lonely. And so that made me just want to kind of be in it with him. Like, I'll just be depressed with you. I just won't leave the house also. I just won't really take care of myself also. I'll just go into this negative headspace also. It was more like I'm more connected to you when I'm stuck also. And that was realizing that my husband really wants me to be happy. His greatest joy is that I am happy. Men are these magical creations that really want to make the women in their lives happy. It's scientific, it's research-based. You can check it out, Alison Armstrong. According to her stats, it's a fact. Most men, most of the time, they really want to make us happy. And I happen to be married to one of those men. And so I realized that what could I contribute to this marriage? More than I could contribute, dragging him to the next therapy appointment and double checking if he took his meds. It was going for a morning walk. It was taking a moment to sip that morning tea and enjoy saying the blessing on it, enjoying, you know, the chai flavor of my tea. It was really deepening into my own being. And that I realized that my presence is so much of what I can offer. More than what I can offer is advice, because advice is really just an imposition on his own inner world. Just my own being of just being there and being happy and enjoying the bliss of this moment and being present and not being caught up in my own negative thoughts about him or about anything, but just being this presence of joy, realizing that that is the energy that I can contribute. Realizing that as the Keres Habayis, which classically means the mainstay of the home, right, as the Jewish woman, but also the mainstay of my inner home. What does it mean to be the mainstay of a Jewish home or of a home in general? Is I am the home, my emotional home, my inner world. That is the energy that I'm creating for those around me. And realizing the most valuable thing I could offer, more than my advice or more like my criticism, or being on top of him, or so to speak, rescuing him, was just offering this presence of calm and happiness and a genuine connection to God. And so that was the first thing I did that really shifted. And what I noticed is that through honoring myself, it caused this shift in my husband where he was also like, right, what am I passionate about? And he started saying this funny quote, like, I'm going to go take a walk, something I had never heard him say before. I know he says almost every day, I'm going to go take a walk, which is something I had started saying. But before, I was so afraid to leave the house because how could I leave him, you know, when I don't know what's going on? How could I leave him when he's depressed? How could I leave him when he's anxious and go to the party? But realizing that actually by honoring myself, I was setting a tone in the relationship of we can honor ourselves. We can take good care of ourselves. Joy is a value here. So that was a huge shift. And then the next thing was a lot harder than, making sure to go out with friends and buy myself a drink at a cafe and sit there and do my work. That was a little bit easier, the self-care. The second part was getting off my husband's paper, which meant realizing that I'm not in charge of his mental health, realizing that I'm not in charge of his daily decisions. I'll give you a really simple example of what that looks like for me in my life. To be really honest, and because also this is such a lovely anonymous platform, I could share in a way that I wouldn't share on another Zoom, which is really nice for me also. There's a little bit more of the censored version, just being able to talk freely. This morning, I got up at 7. My husband was in bed. I felt the energy of the depression. I didn't want to get up. I'll just stay with you in this. It's harder to get up and have my own energy, but no, the best thing I could do for both of us is I'm getting up and I'm having a good day. So I got up. It's 10:30 and I just held the energy of joy. I'm here, I'm present, I'm loving life. This is what I can offer. And at some point my husband's phone rang and it was a delivery guy, and I'm better at Hebrew in a way or two, or at least he thinks I am. I'm not really. Both of our Hebrew is broken, it's fine. We're figuring it out. But I didn't interfere. This is a delivery guy calling him. I don't need to micromanage this. Just because he's quote unquote depressed in bed doesn't mean I need to intrude and say, you can't handle a delivery guy unless I'm asked for help. That's not helpful. In my eyes, it's invasive, it's intrusive, it's putting the person down. And I just let my husband handle the delivery guy in the way he wanted to handle him. He let the phone ring a few times, then he answered, and it was the broken Hebrew back and forth. But it was I'm not here to micromanage someone else's life. I'm here to believe in him. I'm here to be a friend. I'm here to, if someone asks me for help, to offer what I can while still honoring myself. And it turned out that my husband had ordered this incredible package of tea. A few years ago, he got into the medicinal properties of traditional Chinese and Japanese tea. And I wish I could bring my computer over, maybe a little later, but we have the most insane tea collection. You're all more than invited to our house in Spot, next time you're in Spot, to come for some real tea. And my husband learned all the ways that you heat the pot and blah, 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 all these really insane details to make the tea come out in a way that's, very medicinal, once for depression, once for anxiety, once for this, once for that. And turns out that he'd gotten us this present. And just by staying out of the way, I got to just perceive, wow, you're my hero. Meaning, instead of it being, I can't trust you, you're depressed, you're going to mess up the order. It was, no, you've got this. And when your phone rings, I trust you. And how you handle a delivery guy, you've got this. And then because of that, he got to be my hero and take out these 15 bags of this new year-long tea order. And we got to celebrate them with this amazing tea together. And something amazing happened, which in my eyes is really miraculous, is that I realized at some point that I don't need my husband to heal to have the marriage that I wanted. For so long, this belief was running me of, I can't have this marriage that I want to have. I can't really be intimately connected. We can't really have this true, probably Disney, love unless you're healed. And so this transition came for me when I started, for lack of a better term, support group of 20 other women, all working on our marriages. So I went from this place of just completely drowning and be hey, I'm watching everyone else drown. We're all doing that in silence. So why don't we get together, get in a circle? Because Jewish women get in a circle, miraculous things happen. And this started a year and a half ago. And we started supporting each other and learning these skills. And one of the skills that has been so amazing to have this accountability of this group, which has been so huge for me, is this SFP. So then SFP is something that can be used in any relationship. I have mine constantly for my husband and for myself and for God. And an SFP means a spouse fulfilling prophecy. It's whatever we believe about something, it tends to be true. Whatever I believe, today is going to be horrible, I'll find so many proofs. Or today is going to be a magical day, I'll find proofs. It really is a create your own reality kind of universe. And Hashem created something called the reticular activating system, which means a screen in our brain that's kind of this board of directors, and it chooses what information comes through and what information is blocked. Meaning, when I'm looking for my toothbrush, it's amazing that I don't notice the socks on the floor because my RAS, my reticular activating system, is hyper focused on the toothbrush. And so it's the same thing with my life. Whatever I focus on, that is what my brain is going to give me more information of. Meaning, in any given moment, there's so much stimulus happening that there's no way we're getting all of it. We're getting a selected feature. So how do I get on the board of directors of my own psyche? How do I does it get chosen? What things I'm going to notice, what things I'm not going to notice. If you ever notice in a lecture, right, there'd be 100 people are going to walk out with that they heard completely different things because it's filtered through their own process. So in Hebrew, we actually have an amazing way of understanding this, that the word machshava, which means thought, is the same root word as chashuv, which is important. Meaning whatever I think about, that tells my psyche, wow, that is important, point that out. So if my SFP about my husband for so long was, we can't have a real marriage until he heals. I can't be happy until there's no trace of depression. So all I saw were reasons I couldn't be happy now. All I saw were reasons why this wasn't a real marriage yet. And that just made me more and more stuck. And when I changed my spouse fulfilling prophecy to, you've got this. And every single time I saw a situation come up where I saw my husband getting anxious and I saw the panic growing, or I saw the cycles of the nervous system, and I could almost map it at some point. Like, all right, I know exactly what's going to happen here, how the nervous system is going to sway, and I know he's going under, I know he's getting up. And instead of just going into that cycle, instead of being like, you've got this. And at first it felt like a lie, like he does not got this, But I just kept on saying, you've got this, to myself and out loud. And even recently, I'll share a story that my husband came to me and he was saying, like, I don't know what to do. I feel so stuck. I'm in this cycle of depression, anxiety. I don't know what to do. And I just said, you've got this. Like, I wasn't hired as his therapist. He never asked me to help. He was just talking. So unless someone's asking me for help, my job is just to listen. And so I just said, I hear you, and you've got this. And he saw reflected back in my eyes, you've got this. And I heard him go upstairs, and a minute later, he started doing Wim Hof breathing. So if anyone's not familiar with Wim Hof, it's a certain breath technique where a person basically puts himself into hyperventilation, which then allows them in a state of hyperventilation to actually feel calm and in control of their nervous system, as well as mixed with cold showers and cold exposure, which just creates this incredible control over the nervous system. So it's something like we were into together, and I heard him go upstairs and start doing the breath work. It's like, of all the advice I could have given him right then, I could have pounded him with all my advice. It would have just been out of fear of my old SFP of, my life can't be okay till you're healed, And instead, it's just, you've got this. And there was my proof. He's got this. He's the expert on him. He knows exactly what he needs in that moment. And I used to spend so much time telling my husband, you have to leave the house. You have to get out. Come on, be social. That will help you. And now when he's just lying in bed the whole day, it's just, you're the expert on your life. You've got this. If you know that that's what you need right now, I trust you. Like, who am I to come and pretend that I know what someone else needs? But that's not helpful. But what I can offer is seeing someone the way they want to be seen, right? We have so many different beliefs about ourselves. And if someone buys into a negative belief about me, I'll believe it stronger. Versus if someone sees like that good in me, like that little part of you've got this, even if it's so small, I'm going to start believing it more also. And I'm going to start seeing it more myself also. So for me, I feel like I get to be the wife mirror. Like, he gets to look at me and see in my eyes, I actually believe it. You've got this. And I think that's the empowerment that a spouse can offer, or a really close loved one can offer, that isn't something that really you can get anywhere else. It's that specialness, meaning, yeah, we can believe positive thoughts about everyone. But I think there's something about their intimate relationships in our life, of really being able to let that person see themselves the way we see them. But first, I need to actually shift the way I see them. So I'll be very honest with you. I don't call it, meaning for this context of everything I just said, I know I just said the word PTSD, anxiety, and depression like 4 million times. But in my daily world, I don't use those words. I don't use those words in my head, and I don't use those words out loud. And the reason is that I realized that I was just all day mentally labeling my husband, and that's not really fair. To give you an example, my husband had left the house in a few days. It was kind of one of those patterns. And I decided to just cook some food. Now, my husband's the chef around here, and he's very, very meticulous about how things are chopped. So he comes over, starts criticizing my soup, and be like, you didn't cut things right. You should cut them like this. And here, let me show you, and getting like really involved. And I just said to myself, wow, talk about anxiety. Like, thanks for taking your anxiety out on my carrots. Like, my carrots are perfectly fine. And now you're chopping my carrots with your anxiety and criticizing me with your anxiety. Meaning all I could see was, instead of seeing Ariel, I saw your anxiety, which is not helpful to me or to him. And when I reflected on it, I was like, well, what else could I see with the help of a coach? What else could I see other than Ariel's being anxious at me? Well, he cares that the food comes out right because he's a caring person. And he actually notices what I'm up to because he thinks about me. And he cares how the food comes out because he's a passionate person and he's passionate about food being done right. And you know what else? This isn't just random food for anyone on the street. This is for me. I was cooking for myself. Like, he wants me to have the best. So here's two thoughts. Wow, my husband has so much anxiety and I have to deal with this. Or my husband wants me to have the best. He wants me to have the best soup ever. They're both true. It's a choose your own reality, you know? And just realizing that that other story was not serving me and it wasn't serving him. And it wasn't as true as my husband wants me to have the best. Because if I asked him, you know, why would you care so much? Like, I want the soup to be good. You know, I want you to enjoy it. And so I used to just have so much what looked like compassion, but in a way it was really pity. It was really like, I'm still compassionate when my husband has a hard time, but I'm not pitying him. It's not like, oh my gosh, poor guy. It's like, let's say someone was running a marathon. So if in the middle of the marathon, right, I have someone just like sitting there in the eating their popcorn, like someone's like doing this like 10,000 mile sprint, you might feel like, oh my gosh, like in a way, like poor guy, like, you know, that's such an intense marathon. Like that's probably really painful, but the energy is not pity. The energy is, you're my hero and I can never do what you're doing. And you inspire me and I want to work as hard as you work. And you're my hero. Just, I know I said that, but I can say it all day long. Like really, like the energy of like, wow, like I'm so amazed by you. And so that was a huge shift in my energy versus like, poor guy, he's going under again, depressed again. Like instead of that energy, it's just being able to be inspired. And as a writer and as a speaker and someone who, and as an artist, someone who's always, you know, looking for inspiration and looking to be fueled up, this became my muse of inspiration. Watching someone day in and day out work so hard. And actually, during this time, I was teaching Tanya in the seminary. And such like the essence of what Tanya is that we do not need to be tzaddikim. We don't need to reach this level of static and perfect. The one who's called an Aved Hashem, one who serves God actively, is the one who every single day wants something other than Hashem and yet chooses Hashem. The one who every single day wants to say the mean thing and doesn't. One who's actively involved in avodas panimi, the inner work of really just checking in with themselves every moment. How can I connect to God right now? How can I work through this right now? And so instead of having this value of my husband needs to heal, which is kind of like he needs to become that tzaddik, it was no, like that's not necessarily what Hashem wants. Like I don't know his and God's path, right? That's not my business to know what him and Hashem have planned, him and God have planned. My business is, can I just really respect the journey that's unfolding? Can I respect watching someone do so much inner work? Meaning by the time my husband gets up in the morning, he's done so much inner work. You know what I mean? Just getting out of bed sometimes is so much inner work. And I can be inspired by that. And I can go write about that. And I can say Moda Ani, the first prayer of the morning, with more inspiration from that. So instead of it being this, because really it was really hard, like watching myself trying to build a career and trying to build a life for me, myself, and trying to like, you know, work, like develop my passions. And at the same time, watching someone feel so stuck, I felt guilty in a way. And then I realized, no, everything I have is thanks to him. Like it's watching someone do such inner work that's, it's this tremendous source of genuinity, you know, like I could have a thought, like I'm not good enough, and I'll function from the thought, you know, I'll build a whole business plan out of the thought. I'll buy a new shadel out of the thought. I'll do anything but feel the thought. My husband's like, his body is like the barometer of truth. Like if he's thinking I'm not good enough, he's out. Like until he works through the thought and prays and learns something in Chassidus and goes to therapy or whatever it is he does, and whatever his getting out of that space, out of that thought is, he will come to life from such an authenticity. When he's doing something, it's coming from that authenticity. And for me, that's just, it's such a huge inspiration that it'd be such a shame if I didn't let myself see that. And to share one of these stories, which is a little bit hard to put into words because, you know, it's an experience that, I mean, you know, people like to talk about like anxiety, depression. It's like more like normal talk about rage, right? Rage is a little bit like, oh my gosh, you say the word, everyone gets scared. My husband was really like, this was a few years ago. It was like a perfect cocktail of triggers. And he had a full on rage attack. He went to the forest and it was self-harm. He did not care if he got hurt or how much blood there was. He was not interested in his body at all. And I was just there to make sure things didn't escalate past a certain point. But just like letting him do his thing, like, yeah, yell it out, like do what you got to do. And afterwards, he like really collapsed, like in a shame attack, because a rage attack can lead to a shame attack. And we were lying in this field of flowers. And I was completely embarrassed, by the way. This was like in front of my entire family. It was like a very ego death experience, if you will. And we're sitting in this field of flowers. And my husband's like lying on the ground face down. He's like, I do not know what to do. Like, A, how do I go face your family? How do I face myself ever again? What do I do with my bloody hands? Like everything. Is like, what do I do? And Shabbat was coming in like half an hour. Like, and I just looked at him and I was just like, listen, like there's no way Hashem put you in this extraordinary darkness if he didn't give you the light. Like you're reached this place of essence. Like it's just you and yourself right now. There's no mask, there's no cover up. Like whatever the truth is that you need to access right now, it's not something I could give you. Like it's just you and Hashem, and your essence is revealed, and just you know what you need. That's it. And my husband just sat there and he started singing like Hasidic niggin. And I was looking at this incredible Queen's Anne's lace, which is a very delicate and intricate flower. And I mean, normally like, this kind of situation happened before, and it was called living hell on planet Earth, you know? But the setting of this was we were in a field of flowers. I was like Hashem, why is this happening in a field of flowers, you know? And it was like the same way that this Queen's Anne's lace is just kind of blowing in the wind. That's God. And my husband was like literally having this shame attack on the ground right now. Like, that's God. Like, there's no, like, it's both Hashem in the world. This is Hashem's ebb and flow. And I remember my husband made Kiddush, and he figured it out. He reached that place of essence. He accessed what he needed to access. He did something more brave than I could ever do. He walked back to my family's house and he cleaned himself off, and he got ready for Shabbat. And my brother, who was actually, they were the ones who kind of got into a fight, whatever. My brother invited him to come to the table to make Kiddush, to make the prayer over the wine. And my husband very bravely came back. And when he made Kiddush, I felt like I was at the giving of the Torah. Like, I felt like I was at the giving of Sinai. Like, I'm not necessarily always such a visual person or like feeling it. You know, I have to like work really hard to feel it sometimes. I just felt it because there was no mask, there was no layers, there was no pretending. It was just essence. Like, he got to that rock bottom place where there's no there's no light, there's no spirituality. It's just dark. It's just you and Hashem. And it was such an incredible experience. I remember looking around, like seeing if anyone else in my family saw what I was seeing. And I saw my brother's eyes, and like he got it. Like, this is such a profound place of essence. So I said I was gonna have a hard time explaining it because it's an experience. The other really incredible thing about this has been stopping to bubble wrap life. Meaning, I don't plan life around how my husband might react. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to me. And usually when things happen, letting someone have their own process isn't so crazy. It's stopping the process or interfering the process or trying to mess with the process. So that's unnatural. The process is relatively a natural process. And so for me, it's used to be, you know, walking to a Shabbat meal and be like, oh my gosh, anything could be a trigger. Like, who knows if this is going to be a great week or if we're going under, you know? And that fear was, took me over completely. And now my friend even just said, like, I want to mention something to your husband. I really want his help with something, but like, I don't want to stress him out. I said to her, like, Ariel can handle stress. Like, his name's lying for God. Like, he's got this. If you want to mention something to him, mention it to him. Like, I'm not, if he gets stressed out, okay, he'll deal with his stress. Like, he's got this. Like, I don't need to bubble wrap life for someone unless I believe they're fragile. But if my belief is, I trust you and you've got this and you're my hero. And it used to be that I really spent a lot of time like not letting my husband give to me fully because I wouldn't even ask for things. Because I thought, who am I to ask for this right now? Or how could he possibly? And I don't know what you call it, like a breakdown. Something happened, Hanukkah time, I guess. And it was a very dark Hanukkah. And the light was like, the light in the darkness was not just an analogy. It was very real. And after Hanukkah, I got invited to speak at this school in Jerusalem. And I really wanted to go. I wanted to get paid to go somewhere on a vacation. I wanted to go meet new people. I want to speak and hear myself say things I need to hear. Like, I wanted everything about it. I wasn't going to ask my husband because he just went through this entire breakdown. And I think the answer is going to be no. And I just went to like, my belief about my husband is he isn't capable and I need to protect him. Like, I didn't even ask. So I just picked up the phone and I just believed he's got this. He's my hero. He wants to make me happy. And I just told myself all the thoughts. It's like, hey, I'd love to go to Jerusalem. The school asked if I could come. He said, sure, let's leave tonight. Like, that was it. That was it. That was actually, he said, can we go to Heichal Menachem in Jerusalem so I could buy no books, so he could buy new books. I'm like, yeah, sure, you got a deal. And it's just really letting my husband be my hero. And there could be days where I'm saying my husband locked it down. He's not talking. He's not their typical form of functioning, you could say. He'll still buy me a present. He'll go buy me a book. He'll buy me flowers. He'll still ask me, how am I doing? How's your day doing? I mean, when I don't put this label of depressed or dysfunctional, and I'm just open to receiving what's being offered, there's so much being offered. It's insane. And when I heard this certain analogy, it really hit home for me, the idea of like a gem miner, that when it comes to the 10 commandments, and actually that's like the Parsha, we're all in right now. We just finished we just got the 10 commandments. We're unpacking them in the Torah portion right now. And so the first set of the 10 commandments, right, made out of these stones, God created, and then Moses broke them, right? He dropped them. They broke. He smashed them. And they're actually made out of sapphire. So when it came to making the new set of 10 commandments, when God said, all right, we'll do the 10 commandments again, like it's not the 10 commandments, I'll give you the Torah again. So this time God said, I'm not going to give you the stone. I'm not going to engrave the stone for you. You have to excavate out of the rock the 10 commandments. You have to do it. Sorry, not that you have to sorry, I got it wrong. Not that Shem wouldn't engrave them. It's that the actual stone Moses needed to dig out. So like, where did Moses get all this sapphire? Because the 10 commandments were made out of sapphire, really incredible, precious stone. It says underneath his tent was like the sapphire mine, the sapphire well. And all the extra pieces of shards of sapphire, he has these 10 commandments, he's like carving them out. All those extra pieces of sapphire he got to keep, and he became rich from them. And what's spoken about in Chassidus is that the first set of 10 commandments represents the tzaddik, the perfect life. Everything's easy breezy, going free and good. I'm automatically connected to God. All my relationships are perfect. Everything's just good. And when that breaks, life really begins, when the challenge actually starts. And the second commandments represents the inner journey, the journey of the Beinoni, the journey of the person who struggles and is really involved with God every single day in their work. But it says they're made out of sapphires and you get to keep the shards, meaning from the inner work, you become rich. And when I realized that this is not my husband ruining my life, this is not God being cruel and giving putting this challenge into her life to ruin my life. This is going to make me rich. This is not just it will make me rich. This is an incredible inner wealth of sapphires that I'm being handed. And without having actually said this to my husband at all, like I was just living with this analogy. It's really Shkar he bought me a sapphire for Sukkot a few years ago. And when he gave this to me, it's like this cute little sapphire, like when he gave this to me, it was such a wink from Hashem of like, you get it. I'm not here to punish you. This isn't because you messed up. This isn't cruel. This is my love for you. This is me making you rich. If I could let go of what external success looks like, of what external, societal standards of riches look like. And I could really be open to the inner wealth that I'm being offered. So we're at, what's it called? 37 minutes. Did you want me to stop now for questions?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been so amazing so far. I'm watching everyone drink it in. It's just incredible to hear about it, to hear about our situation kind of from another person's perspective, and the way you're empowering your husband, and the way you're letting go of everything to give him that freedom to just like fly.
Thanks.
It's really incredible. I mean, I think I definitely have a lot of letting go to do in my life, but this is a new level of like totally detaching. It's just an amazing inspiration. So I guess we can open to questions if people want to hear more about different things, or comment or share any experiences that they relate to. They can do that now. So I just have one question for you.
Yeah.
I'm just very interested in like what people do. So do you teach as well, like in seminaries, you said?
Yeah, so this year I'm taking a little sabbatical to work on a different project, but generally for the last 4 years I teach in Seminary Chaim Mushka. No, it's a Chabad seminary in Svat. but I mostly teach like online. I've entered the Zoom realms and there's no going back.
Yeah,